on day 2,199 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. The Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier Richard Halliday was forcibly removed from his barracks room after his reports were blocked and his requests for transfer were denied, and a code red was ordered to take his life. He was forcibly removed. He was taken downstairs to the basement, to the arms room, which is a secure room that is soundproof, and his life was taken on Fort Bliss because he was whistleblowing about the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting and the cartel criminal infiltration onto Fort Bliss and in his unit, and the trafficking, the child trafficking, the sexual exploitation, the fuel smuggling, the arms smuggling, and trafficking drugs, whatever. If it wasn't bolted down, they were trafficking it. So he was reporting that, um, and they wanted to silence him, especially because of the Walmart mass shooting and the fuel theft. Those are uh, the ones that they would have the hardest time covering up. For all the trafficking they could cover up very easily because of their infiltrators in the judicial system that we're going to talk about today, which is Judge Medrano, Sam Medrano, the most corrupt judge in El Paso history. Way up there. I mean, it's really not a competition. It's not a competition. There's been some really, really corrupt judges, right? But Sam Medrano tops them all by far, and he's scheming with Justin Underwood, okay, to cover up the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting case, the fraudulent distribution of the Walmart victims funds, which was almost $12 million, uh, that was kept by Westar Bank, and also our son's case, the uh, the code red murder of our son. So, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I might be shadow banned for saying that, but taking his life, right? Taking his life in a code red fashion, where they blocked his reports and denied his transfer, and uh, he knew too much. He knew too much, so says them, that they ordered the code red. So, yeah, they did not want him to live. So let's see if I'm on. It looks like I'm on. It looks like I can be heard. That's great news. I can see comments. Thank you so much. And so I really do want to talk about, the current news. There's so much current news going on because of President Trump sending extra troops to the border and putting another boundary around El Paso, Fort Bliss. Um, he is really protecting what's going on Fort Bliss, or they're getting ready for court martials. I'm hoping they're getting ready for court martials. And also, um, all the troops at the border, the visa restrictions, the denaturalizations, the arrests of the CJNG and other cartel members, the freezing of bank accounts and assets and all that, what's going on. It is a vicious negotiation for the repatriation of our son. We really believe that because of the letters that we received from him and all his actions. He is just super focused on that border. And just showing a lot of love for Richard's case, a lot of love. And the reason, and of course, the letter, he just loves Richard. President Trump loves Richard. I mean, he just pours accolades on our son, rightfully so, rightfully so. And he may also really love him because Richard was the whistleblower that the evidence, and just got a huge confirmation on it also, another huge confirmation corroborating what we're saying, that Richard was reporting the planning of the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting before even a shot was fired. And it was absolutely political weaponization of, super violence, right? Super violence, 23 people killed, 22 injured, and they weaponized that politically with a false narrative against President Trump to sabotage his reelection in 2020 and to boost, especially when it comes to um, getting donations, boost Beto O'Rourke um, in the primaries there for president. He was really at the time a contender against President Trump. And it was really the El Paso cartel's pick was Beto O'Rourke. And it seems, evidence indicates they were willing to do anything, to do anything, um, to stop the audits, to boost Beto O'Rourke, to stop other investigations, to stop the closing of the border, in order to to lift Beto O'Rourke up and sabotage President Trump's reelection in 2020. So it was election interference, 100%. And, and they needed to have their El Paso cartel group, their alliances there to cover up what they were doing, okay? Because it's so criminal. It's so criminal and so violent, so deadly. And to cover it up, they had to take our son's life. Okay, they had to take our son's life because he knew, and was reporting, was willing to be a whistleblower witness, and was the distinguished honor graduate for his basic training class, number one in his class in basic training and AIT, and a super quick um, uh, being promoted, right? Super quick promotions. And the AAMs, three AAMs, which are Army Achievement Medals, in 14 months. So, absolutely, he was, a star witness, right? A stellar witness. No, just absolutely shiny, sparkling. And that's why they had to retaliate against him. They went through so much trouble with the cartels and the cartel uh, alliances and allies to try to entrap Richard. That it didn't work. He has a stellar record to this day. Um, i- they just try to get a false narrative out there, which they have. And just like with President Trump, they both have been attacked by false narratives. And, and I think this is why President Trump loves Richard so much, right? Loves him so much. I really think so, because Richard was willing to stick up for the president of the United States and do his duty. And it's just and go above doing your duty. Um, eh, but really, in this case, I think it was exactly Richard's duty and he did it. And of course, the Department of War looked at the case and um, they designated Richard in the line of duty, um, that he was killed on Fort Bliss. Um, and so we know through major evidence that his body was stolen off of Fort Bliss, that the funeral fraud, pipeline, and trafficking was part of all of this, and that Richard's body was trafficked to Juarez, Mexico, in Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua, which the governor is Maru Campos. And so, this is why President Trump is squeezing. I mean, he has a vice on the border right now. And I put up a picture of the vice because he's just turning, that vice, squeezing it for the repatriation of Richard's remains, and accountability. Absolutely. And Maru Campos is feeling it because she has betrayed Chihuahua. She has betrayed Chihuahua for many, many years. And now she's afraid that she's going to be betrayed by her own corrupt inner circle, which is Cesar Haragi, who he's just trying to save his back end, y'all. He's just trying to save his back end. He only has one major card to play. I don't see any other card that he can play, and that is, to cooperate with the federal Mexican government and the investigations and make some kind of deal, right? So that he won't be in prison for the rest of his life. Um, uh, uh, and of course, Maru Campos uh, you know, is still in denial. She's still in denial still, but it just tells you that uh, she is facing um, arrests uh, and and prison time. That's what I think that these new articles that are coming out where she's just so afraid. And it's like, really? Wow, this is sweet justice because she's betrayed the Chihuahuan people over and over and over again. She's betrayed uh, the national sovereignty of Mexico. I mean, she's under investigation for treason because she betrayed the national sovereignty of Mexico, thinking she could be all that. She could be all that and more than Mexico, that she could be, make these treasonous treaties with a foreign government, that she can have intelligence agents from a foreign government on her secret payroll, and she could, get them to do unauthorized operations, kidnappings, and such things, right? Without going through federal governments and really betraying the national government of Mexico, which is the Mexican people. So not only the Chihuahuan people, because of all of the it's all documented already. The embezzlement, right? The stealing of Chihuahuans' money, putting the Chihuahuans' money to these secret payrolls, to payoffs, pay for play kind of things that, eh, you know, just has destroyed Chihuahua and made it so dangerous, right? Made it so dangerous because she's the El Chapo fentanyl governor. She's the El Chapo proxy, bringing in full force in alliance the CJNG with the Sinaloa cartel, with the Juarez cartel, and making them grow, right? Growing them together in alliance with the El Paso cartel, and using that to weaponize uh, uh, monies and intelligence and software like the Pegasus software to use against the people to exploit them even more. So she's a really bad leader, y'all. She's really she's not even a leader, right? She's just a total big criminal. And we have that in El Paso also with Judge Sam Medrano, right? With attorney Justin Underwood. And both of them need to be disbarred because of what the evidence absolutely confirms. And so I ran a lot of statistical analysis of all of the evidence through. And it was very interesting because you almost have to um, beg it to give you anything different because it absolutely confirms. And I didn't put 100%, right? I was very nice, but the statistics is 99.999999999 that Judge Medrano schemed with Justin Underwood to cover up the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting, to cover up the fraudulent distribution in the hands of Westar Bank of the Walmart victims funds, which were over $12 million collected, okay, for the victims. And of course, in the code red, taking of our son's life, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier Richard Halliday. And, with the connections with Justin Underwood working together with Danae Katzen and this fraudulent family, with all of the other evidence, including even Joe Spencer, the attorney for Patrick Crusius, his own words in audio statements confirms the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting. The pictures that DPS has released confirm the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting. The testimony, the timeline, and I'll give you a little bit of the timeline. So before the shooting or on the day of the shooting, okay? Um, attorney, and the reason why, and you're going to see this, that it had to be on the day of the shooting or before the day of the shooting, before a fire was shot, attorney Joe Spencer was negotiating with Judge Medrano and Judge David Guadarrama. And David Guadarrama is David Campos Guadarrama. I think that's important. And what this reveals is that he was saying in this audio that he would take the Walmart mass shooting case, the Patrick Crusius case, okay, synonymous there, but only if they would get him a open checkbook, meaning taxpayer funded defense for Patrick Crusius, that he didn't want nickels and dimes. He wasn't going to ask for nickels here and dimes here to do what he wanted to do. He wanted an open checkbook. That means millions and millions of dollars to defend Patrick Crusius. That is really important because that conversation was before or on the same day as the shooting. There's no other possibility, and I'll tell you why. Because that was a Saturday. The shooting was on a Saturday. On Sunday, okay, on Sunday at 5, let's see, 5, do I have it here? At 5:42 a.m. I do. At 5:42 a.m. Sunday morning, The application for appointed counsel, which is code for open checkbook, okay? That's code for open checkbook. And I should have put that down on my post too. Um, was approved at 5:42 a.m. on August 4th. August 4th. So you have August 3rd, the shooting, right? Where Patrick Crucius was taken into custody around 11:06 a.m. At 5:42 a.m., not even 24 hours later, there was an approval for an appointed counsel. And that open checkbook, code word for open checkbook, there has to be background checks for conflicts of interest on who is being appointed, and there's also background check on the finances of Patrick Crucius, right? They needed to look if he qualifies for an open checkbook, taxpayer funds, right, for his defense, which they did not do either one of those properly, right? They did not do either one of those properly. So, because they approved it so speedy fast, there wasn't time to do any kind of work like that, what they were supposed to do before they gave their approval. And and Joe Spencer, he himself confirmed, along with many news agencies, that he was sitting in the jail cell visiting Patrick Crucius on Monday, August 5th already. Already he was charging the taxpayers for the millions and millions of dollars for the defense of Patrick Crucius. So what does this tell you? This tells you that he was negotiating before the shooting ever happened, or during the shooting. They were already planning on open checkbook, millions of dollars of taxpayer funds that they could make on the case. A very heartbreaking, disastrous tragedy case for El Paso. But that's what they were doing. They were plotting and planning. There's no other way to look at it, because statistics doesn't lie. And when you put in all of the timeline and all of the evidence and the recordings and everything, um, the statistics confirms what we're saying. So when and it wasn't until let's see, the September 25th that Judge Medrano even got on the Walmart case. Okay? September 25th. You're talking about a month and a half, just, yeah, about 5 to 6 weeks later. Okay? And how did he know he was going to be on the case? I mean, I know you're going to say his wife tampered with the assignment will. His wife was in charge of the assignment will. That's how he knew he would get on the case. Okay, I know you probably would tell me something like that. But but that doesn't change the fact that he was negotiating with Judge David Guadarrama and Joe Spencer for open checkbook for the defense of Patrick Crucius before, the application, which came, less than 24 hours later, um, which definitely uh, confirms that it was on the day or before that day, which confirms, either way you look at it, that they were planning this orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting case. And and that tells you that this is not a new playbook when I say that Judge Medrano and Justin Underwood were scheming together as well, okay? That they were also unlawfully scheming together. And it is as sure, 99.999%, as the whole um, orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting case. It's as sure or even surer than that because of the falsified subpoenas, because of the tampered audio recordings, because of the threats to the prosecutors. Just one violation after the other, the violation of the gag order, going to El Paso Inc., right? Which I didn't even write in the article. But he went, Justin Underwood went to El Paso Inc. to release some information, breaking the gag order. And anyway, you know, there's just evidence upon evidence upon evidence that Judge Medrano allowed Justin Underwood to do all of this because they were scheming together. Okay, they were scheming together. There's no other possibility in this. It's 99.999% sure. And of course, what gave Judge Medrano this kind of um, this kind of um, power, right? Power to scheme um, in the planning of the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting. I would absolutely say that that is a surety. And then plan and scheme with Justin Underwood in the cover up of the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting for the case and allow the breaking of um, um, the regular the actions or the motions, the orders of Judge Sam Medrano. It didn't seem to apply to Justin Underwood, right? He could break the gag order and the judge didn't care, wouldn't do anything. Um, Also, these falsified subpoenas had to be walked over to the district clerk's office. Justin Underwood had to walk his so-called subpoena to the district clerk's office, and it had to be stamped by the very wife of Judge Medrano. And so the conflicts of interest are there to take into consideration in the statistical analysis of did Sam Medrano, Judge Sam Medrano, scheme with Justin Underwood to cover up not one but three cases: the orchestrated Walmart mass shooting, the fraudulent distribution of the Walmart victims funds, and of course the taking of Richard Halliday's life, his case, the Code Red case. And this is a big order to fill. And but when you look at Danae Katzen, Michael Mayella, Nadal Baim, the whistleblower in our son's case, Judge Roger Rodriguez, also a whistleblower in the Walmart mass shooting case. And so when you look at um, all of the details, all of the important things that were withheld, the scheming, manipulation to take down the prosecutor, uh, you know, it's just on, and the relationship with Justin Underwood's family, with Beto O'Rourke, very close and on his campaign. And then very close relationship with Danae Katzen, who was also on Beto O'Rourke's campaign. And the Judge Sam Medrano um, uh, weaponizing his power even more. Where did he get the power? Because his wife had control of the assignment will that breaks and makes any judge, any lawyer in in the courthouse, and that gave him a lot of leverage. And then he took the bailiffs in the courthouse and created a unlawful, illegal police force under his control in the courthouse to what? To control the judges, the lawyers, the witnesses, the investigations, the cases in the courthouse. And so if you say, how can he do this in these three cases? Now you know. Now you know how he had the weaponization with his wife. Um, so not only did he have his wife controlling the assignment will for the courthouse, but he had then a illegal, unlawful bailiff police force within the courthouse. And they answered to him, right? They answered to him. And so they answered also to their judges that they were the bailiffs for, but it all had to come through um, Sam Medrano. So that gave him a lot of intel, a lot of leverage and control to control cases and evidence. And so that's why you only hear about the Mayella family, the Mayella Crucius family here. Where is the media? Where is the whistleblowers out of the courthouse screaming about, and this is the federal courthouse also, because Michael Sr. Was the federal courthouse manager under controlling David Guadarrama's affairs, right? Managing the federal judge in the Walmart mass shooting case. Um, was Michael Mayella Sr. And then Michael Mayella Jr. was in the DA's office with who else? With Nadal Bayeem's family in the DA's office. Nadal Bayeem's family in the AUSA office, the associates of his, very close associates of, the family members. So, you have this institutional capture um, a- a- in all of these cases, right? The Danae Katz and Gonzalez Sambriz fraudulent fraudster family, the Nadal Bayeem, the Michael Mayella, and of course, then you have the David Frost, which is an NCO on Fort Bliss under Sean Bernabe, who's being accused of the worst type of crimes against women in gang fashion, and at the same time he's the lead FBI agent on the Walmart mass shooting case, that the crime scene wasn't even secured for over 48 hours. And we have all of the evidence, individuals involved, that corroborates this information, and then you put that statistically to work and to the law, and it says no way could this be random. No way. Zero chance, zero chance. And if you flip it, was this orchestrated? Was this a cover up? Did Judge Sam Medrano scheme with Justin Underwood? And the statistics come gets calculated and it's 99.99999%. So it's not me saying that, it's the math. It is the statistics that is saying that they schemed together to cover up the orchestrated Walmart mass shooting, the fraudulent distribution of the Walmart Victims Fund by Westar Bank, and of course, the code red taking of our son's life and trafficking his remains to Mexico for disposal. Uh, you know, that absolutely they were involved in scheming, and really explains what we stepped into when we went and moved to El Paso, when all of this was happening, so that we could rally and talk to people and talk to attorneys and whoever. And and all of the names that are coming together that were confusing us at the very beginning, um, it all makes sense now, okay? Because it is a cartel, El Paso cartel um, network that is protecting its interests against President Trump, right? And Richard was the whistleblower that was blowing the lid off of everything, feeding um, the the federal institution the information that it needed, um, that really showed election tampering against President Trump. So this is and violations of infiltration, national security breaches in our military institution on our military installation. So this is really coming together, and I'm just so grateful that everyone is listening, that they are sharing. Our posts are being shared wide, and please follow and join and share even some more, because the more sharing that goes on, we don't monetize. This is not for monetization. This is really to get accountability for our son and get our son's remains home. Get our son's remains home. And at the same time, because of this control by Sam Medrano and his attack dog, which is Justin Underwood, and others, but in this case, Justin Underwood, um, you see that other people were hurt in El Paso by this. And so all of the sharing and this exposing has weakened their retaliation ability. And so there is a lot going on behind the scenes, because now people that thought they could never get justice, that they could never speak out, are able to speak out and get justice. And so we're not the only ones. And we are so grateful that we could help the people in El Paso that have been betrayed. And of course, whatever happens in El Paso will also flow into Chihuahua, Mexico. And we're just so happy to bring some light, to bring some truth, especially about the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting, because so Americans, Germans, and Mexicans alike were hurt in that. And also, our son's case, because it affects so many soldiers like Glennon Oakley Jr. and Asia Graham, and many, many others. Uh, and so much so that President Trump got rid of FORSCOM, got rid of FORSCOM. I'm just so happy about that. Um, and, so there's just a lot of good things coming out, and we're getting closer and closer to getting our son's remains. It's just vicious negotiations. I've been saying it for a long time. Um, uh, but President Trump, with his new visa regulations, the denaturalizations for these cartel criminals. I a lot of good things are happening, especially the added military support to leave no soldier behind. That's putting pressure on Mexico to get to the bottom of this and give us our sons' remains back. And you see that Cesar Haragi, um, it has already been squeezed enough because he is uh, negotiating and or participating, cooperating with the FGR, which is like the FBI, DOJ for the Mexican government that's investigating all of this. So, uh, yeah, and that's all happening because of your sharing uh, and demanding justice and all your wonderful comments. You see what's happening. So, and thank you to everybody that has been um, on for so long from the beginning, and here we are. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. But, and I really apologize every night for that because, it, um, there's just every day there's so much going on. And in order to report the truth, we have to really go through it and check the sources, and that just takes time. So, thank you so much for all your patience and sharing and sharing. And did I say sharing? Share, share, share. Thank you so much. And let's look at the comments now. We have Carissa. Thank you so much for coming on. It says, "My heart grieves for you and your family over the loss of Richard." Thank you so much for that. We cry every day, I have a beautiful picture. Pictures are right over there, right behind me too. Um, Thank you. Words can't express these last 6 years. We continually pray for you and your family. Nothing can stop what's coming. The Lord our God's justice and accountability is coming for them. Absolutely. And we're so grateful for President Trump um, because of what he's doing um, to help us in these vicious negotiations. It's just super important. And I know that it is for the election tampering also that hurt, every American that thinks, they cast a ballot and it should be counted honestly, right? So, and the narrative should be honest and not these lies that are continuously spread. So, yeah, that's very, very important for the future of our country and the way our military is ran and treated, and our soldiers, our volunteer soldiers. Richard volunteered, right? He was a volunteer soldier and he couldn't even be safe in the barracks. He couldn't even be safe in the barracks and as a whistleblower, not even protected as a whistleblower. And then for them to do what they did to his body and everything. Yeah, that is this is a big deal for President Trump, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much. God bless you, and please share, and I'll be back.